What's going on, you guys? So I'm back for another shave. Today's Monday, and it's been a while since I've had a video using this much growth. So uh, weekend was really busy and didn't shave. So you guys get to see a little more visible growth. Um, First of all, I want to say once again, I appreciate the new people that I've been able to kind of be introduced to just through comments or new people subscribing. So for those of you guys once again tuning in, thank you for your viewership. And again, I think the reason why it's important is some of you guys just casually leave a comment, and just over time, it's just one of those ways that you slowly start building these new friendships and relationships, kind of in shaving or through shaving. So it's always really cool. Like I said, kind of think about this year, kind of revisiting my YouTube channel. Although the main focus is to grow it, there's a lot of really cool people on here that just they've got some good back and forth. So I just want to say thanks again. Before I show you guys what I'm going to be using, because it's quite a bit different setup than you guys have been able to kind of see me do more recently. The last video, I think that was filmed Friday. I didn't have a chance to really upload it over the weekend, so you guys can check out my last video. And there's kind of like a little apology in there in the beginning. So I really want to try my best to make sure that when you guys are tuning in, things are positive. So again, if you guys check out my more previous video, honestly, I'm kind of being a little vulnerable, and in some ways it's still really challenging for me for different reasons, wanting to post and kind of be on YouTube. And it's really not that I've received any negative feedback or trolling. It's just, honestly, you guys, it's just being self-conscious. And I know other shavers had kind of mentioned that. So I've really been thinking about this over the last couple days. I think I just want to keep pushing myself to get on video so that I can kind of just challenge myself to kind of get over being self-conscious. It's not perfect, and it's just a matter of trying not to be too, judgmental. So all of you guys that have been leaving positive comments, thank you. I appreciate it. I just got to keep working on myself and not feeling too doubtful. So anyway, okay, real quick. The main difference today, you guys, is scent. So I'm using old school Tabac. This is not the reformulated version, because this was bought, I think, like 7 years ago. One of my first purchases that was specifically for buying a tallow soap. So I already have this loaded up. Aftershave is going to be PAA, or this was How to Grow a Mustache at the time. Tombstone, great scent. And then EDT, Rome from Bear Stern Man. So David can, here real quick. So the brush that I'm using is my High Mountain White 24 millimeter 3-band. So again, this was already loaded up with the Tabac. I haven't used Tabac in like, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years. But anyway, I've been using the Monte di Sicilia for last couple shaves. So the only reason why I'm not using that today is because when I woke up today, Southern California it's very overcast, very foggy, a little bit colder, more wet. I don't know if it's really supposed to rain. So I'm going to take advantage of kind of enjoying my my ability to wear a more, you guys, this whole setup with these 3 different software products, this is stinky. Usually when I kind of just say stinky, it's not meant in like a bad way. It's just like, for most of the colognes and fragrances that I like, they're usually a little bit more palatable, like especially since I'm in warmer weather, like a really nice citrus floral scent, or something that's just not too heavy. all of these scents are really bold. You know, the Rome, that EDT, it's very like campfirey, almost leathery. You know, smoke aspects. I forget. Tombstone is gunpowder, leather, tobacco, geranium, bergamot, rose. And I might as well bring this up, but this isn't going to need. You guys, look just out of the gate. Tabac's always been a really good performer. I bought this and Mitchell's Wolfat years ago at the same time, and I really like the performance of both. But anyway, the one of the more recent videos, I was just kind of bringing up that, you know, sometimes as someone that might upload content, because there's aspects of this scent that I don't like, but although I do enjoy it, it's one of those things where I can understand when people say it kind of has like this almost grandma-esque feel to it. I think I get that. I understand it. So although I do enjoy it, I think that, you know, I'm someone that tries to give you guys a view of, I don't know how fair it is for me to say I try to give you guys an unbiased view, but at least for me, when I read those reviews, usually here, I think here's a better example. If you guys see a comment that says, you know, Tabac scent is terrible, it smells like, you know, like a grandma's powder or something, it smells very old, I don't always take those as like they hate it, or I don't know, just like they have their pitchfork out. I think I definitely see that and agree with it. Just for some reason, it doesn't bother me. It's just, you know, it's just some more bold scent. So I think this is fine, you guys. This lather's great. So okay, and I've been using plenty of the carbon setups for hardware. So today we're going to see how many nicks I get. We're going to use the 2013 version of the German brand Mühle. This is the R41. Typically, I always consider this an open comb for some reasons, but technically, you guys, this is not a true open comb. It's kind of like they say this faux teeth or faux, I don't know. Anyway, I usually just call it open comb because it's one of the more aggressive modern production razors. The one thing that I didn't really care for with this razor is I just wish they made a stainless steel version of it. So anyway, this has a brand new Kai blade in it. I figured that might be something that you guys would like. Kais are a blade that I've enjoyed for many years, and although I do say that they're probably the sharpest blade to me, you still have to be careful trying to not use too much pressure, and then combine that with the Mühle R41. It's just a setup you got to be attentive with. But even though you guys might have seen me use the carbon razor quite a bit, this year I have had quite a bit of shaves using the carbon. But one point I wanted to bring up today is over my years in shaving, I've still had much more shaves using the R41 than most razors I've ever tried. And then with the BBS one, I've also had more shaves with that than I have the R41. If I were to guess, you guys, both this version, the 2013, and then I'll say the second released R41, which I will refer to as the 2011, to say? Oh, I was going to say, I think between both of those versions, this one and the other one, I've probably had close to like, I don't know, probably between 200 and 300 shaves with the Mule R41. So as much as I might say, like I know the carbon razors, you know, at least from my experience this year, just based on how many shaves I've had with this razor, this is one of the most used razors I've had in my wet shaving experience. A couple reasons why I've enjoyed the Mule R41 is I think that it's very, very good in how it can accept different blades. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of those baby blue green, what's it, the Derby Extra, the one that's got like the 4 or 5 different coatings. I know a lot of people have less than favorable results with those, and I can't speak on behalf of everybody, but I know one of the common themes can be that the Derby, what's it, Derby Extra, that the edge doesn't really cut that well. And see, again, it's, for me, I can't tell you guys when I really started to notice this, but pretty early on, I started looking into these more aggressive razors. Like the Merkur 34C was my first razor, and I would say that was still a good razor. It was, you know, a little bit more on the mild side. I think one of my my buddies in the on the forum, Thomas is one of the guys that does a lot of posts on the lather shots on Damn Fine Shave. But I think he had posted in one of the Wolfman threads. He says to him, the Wolfman razors, as much as he does like them, I think he's showing that his bias, there is no bias in terms of like, because he invested the money in like a Wolfman razor, if he compares what the razor is like to like a Merkur 34C, he says, as much as I might like the Wolfman, the 34C is just as good of a shaver. And for me, I don't have a negative response to that. I think he's totally valid in his opinion. I don't necessarily have the same view, and it would be as simple as this. Price aside, I do think that the Wolfman's being a milled razor, and at least in my experience, as much as I might want to say that those Wolfman razors or the milled razors are better than the Merkur, the reason why I think, in my experience, they have been better shavers or the results are better, I don't think the Merkur razor has as much the blade clamping. The effect that the blade is really held securely, I don't think is quite as up to that same standard. So take that for what it is. I know that, you know, one thing that I've been thinking about, so you guys, like in one pass, like here, you can hear, yeah, there's beard, but I love the efficiency. The stroke per pass on this razor is very good. I don't know if I want to go against the grain. Maybe I will just for you guys. Let's do it. I think we'll just go one more pass against the grain. By the way, at the end of this video, I have one vase, one of my new pieces of pottery I wanted to show you guys. Yeah, it's funny. I'm having trouble trying to remember exactly how many Wolfman razors I've tried, and I know for sure I have the BBS one, which was made by James. I don't know if I've tried two. For sure I've tried two. I don't know if I've maybe tried three different open comb WR1s. But in my experience, I really liked the WR1s that were open comb. At the time, I can't remember what year it was. Maybe it was like 4 years ago, you guys. It was still when there was still some momentum gaining. People knew that it was a name that was starting to come up more frequently, but they weren't unavailable. So I had bought, I think at the time, the highest blade gap that James was making for the WR1 open comb was a 7.74. And I wanted to get that as a replacement for the R41. And all I can tell you is, as much as I like the razor, the shave itself was smoother. So the byproduct on the skin was better than I think this razor. But at that time, I didn't like the efficiency. I felt like it was a little lacking for me. I felt like it was just a little too mild, and it required me to do probably one more pass than I would like. That's as much as I can really tell you that I think is important. To be honest, I still do have a general interest in maybe trying one or two more Wolfman razors, but it's not because of how hard they are to get or anything. I was thinking about that this last week, how much stuff that I have sold off that at one time was unobtainium and wet shaving. I really can't think of anything that I miss. So, all right, against the grain. By the way, one of the other reasons why I like this razor, this was one that I used to when I first started. I would use kind of that cap, ride the cap more, and I still think that that's a great way that you can shave. At some point, I found that you can use this with very little angle. So, one of the things I tend to talk about a lot in my videos is how I use the angle of the razors. It's never to show you guys how you have to, or that it's the only way. I just find that there have been a couple things in common with some of the razors that I tend to like, and maybe that's that you don't have to use them at one specific angle. If you guys go to towards the end after the shave on this last video, I pretty much show you guys my whole inventory of brushes that I currently have. This has been brought up in the different threads. Ken at Shave326 has kind of brought this up a couple times. So, in regards to shaving brushes, using this word of specifically a hand-tied knot, I don't want to speak on behalf of Ken, but I think he was just kind of saying that it will maybe get used in such a way that if I tell you guys this, whatever brush is a hand-tied knot, I guess it automatically makes the assumption that unless something is labeled hand-tied, that it's machine made or set by a machine. And I don't know that I ever really commented on any of those threads on the forum, but I always was thinking over my years of really researching as much that you can how the knots get made. I just don't understand that, because if you guys really do think that there's only here off the top of my head, what's it? Strike Gold Shave here in the U.S. Scott at Declaration Grooming. Give me a second here, you guys. Aldo at the Varlet. I could be missing one or two other people that specifically here in the U.S. import the raw loose hair, and then they tie the knot. It's not to say that all of the other brands that, like for instance, Paladin is just one. I'm kind of a fan of Ken and what he has been able to kind of do with his website. It's been probably a couple years since I've bought a Paladin, but I still, like to at different times go on his website and see what he's added to like his informative, tabs on the website. I think he really understands what goes into the mechanics of how a very good lathering brush, how that knot is supposed to function, or how it's supposed to be made. So like for instance, Paladin says on there they have a supplier, or like maybe two different suppliers in China, that those knots are specifically made for their handles. So I'm not under the impression that Ken uses hand-tied, either on the branding. And like if you guys ever hear me say the word branding in regards to like a shave brush, let's say this Shave Revolution brush, which it doesn't have the insignia or the name on this. But obviously you guys know, like different shave brands will say like name of company, and then they might say like Pure Badger, or they might say Exclusive Badger. That's one that I think I see on, what's it, Black Eagle from South Africa. Let me just give this a rinse. We might as well, kind of going back to what we were talking about being vulnerable. I want to throw this on camera and let's see what my reaction is. Let me just give this a rinse. But so to me, it's like the branding really comes down to, are they really trying to pass forward some sort of information that gives you a better conclusion about, I don't know, it's very hard. Like I generally do kind of have my interest piqued if something is labeled High Mountain White. And although I might say I have a preference for those knots, it doesn't mean that I automatically accept, oh, this brand has, this company has chosen to label their knots High Mountain White. I don't take it at their word. I try to trust them, and so like if I'm interested and the price isn't too high, I'll buy it. But it doesn't necessarily mean I always subscribe to agreeing with, okay, this fits a general description of High Mountain White. So I've become even more and more loose and like how the branding gets used. And I tend to think that now the only way I really decipher different hairs and branding and knots and grades, is it 2-band hair, is it more thick, or is it more thin? So like 2-band or finest or Manchurian versus something that's like closer to 3-band or silver tip. And then you can get into whether something's treated or bleached or whatever. And so over the years, as much of a badger aficionado or a brush aficionado as I might be, I tend to think that a lot of what we pay for is branding. So you guys, to conclude on the brush thing, there's so many videos that are available. I don't think like it's not on the dark web, but for those of you guys that might think that the artisans that tie their own knots are the only ones that are hand tying their knots, I'm going to make the suggestion to go on YouTube. The videos offhand that I can think of are usually going to be the different European brush makers that you're going to be able to see a little bit more of the process video in their factory of how they hand tie their knots. And here's another thing. Okay, so in China, you can go on Alibaba or some of these different listings on like the eBay accounts for these different Chinese vendors, and because the pricing is cheap, I think that there's people that wherever they are on the internet, they somehow have a comment that gets through on these groups that says, yeah, the Chinese people or the companies, they make these, machine-made ones. I think I can think of even more times when I've been on these Chinese, profiles, like their vendor profiles, and they are the ones that give the video and the pictures of their process of making the knots. So I don't know if it's just that people are trying to like uplift the American artisans and say that they're better because they're hand tied. I would say that generally, like I told you guys, if Aldo could make me a $500 silver tip, maybe that would be like the last brush I would want to buy. I'm happy to pay more for the branding, but I'm not under the assumption that because of something's price or because it doesn't have the branding that it's not hand tied. That doesn't mean that it's not hand tied. So at least for me, you guys, I've seen enough evidence that most knots I think are hand tied. And again, the brush that I used today, you guys, 5 years ago, this was $40. It was not a special edition. But there's a lot of brushes that I've liked, a lot of brushes that I've tried that are very high quality. The price doesn't mean anything to me. The branding doesn't mean anything to me. A quality knot is a quality knot. It's up to you guys to figure out what you need in a knot. And for me, I need something that's soft. I prefer something that doesn't have a glue bump so that when you guys see me face lathering, I can use the entire height of that loft. That tends to be a more functional knot, and the pleasure of the face feel is just much more evident to me. So, yeah, I'd be kind of curious if anyone has a different opinion of that. It doesn't mean that I don't have the awareness that there are machine set knots, and I've seen videos of that, I've seen pictures of it, but I'm really not in line with this current way of thinking that the ones that have the branding of hand tied, they don't hold exclusivity to really what they are. So whew. It's been a long time. I'm going to do one more application of this. Yeah, I remember some of these old PAA splashes. The menthol is really there, which I enjoy. This one has the alum, which I really like. Whew. I really like Douglas's aftershaves, especially these old ones. They're, in my opinion, not that much different than what I'm currently getting. I think I picked up like 3 or 4 full bottles from Douglas this year of his most updated aftershave splash recipes. It's great. It's not as yeah, just that menthol gets to my eyes. That'll wake me up. Okay. Here, real quick, I'll show you guys this pot. So, you guys, if I didn't make that clear on the brushes, throw me a comment, and I will respond either in the comment or in the next video. So, I would just say, you guys, from someone who's spent a lot of money on Badger brushes, even a lot of money trying other brushes, synthetic, boar, and horsehair, you do not need to get caught up in what's better or what has better status or something. Know what you need in a brush, whether it's going to be for full face lathering or bowl lathering or palm lathering or whatever, and go after what functions the best. Then once you guys have that in mind, you can, I think, make a better judgment on if you want to pay for something more. Like I told you guys in one of my previous videos, I'm trying not to buy too many Badger brushes moving forward. If I can avoid it, I'd like to do that. And then like 5 days after I had mentioned that, I found a brush online which isn't necessarily vintage, but it was very expensive. Might have been like $400. And I'm like, I would really like that brush, but it doesn't mean that I think that it's necessarily going to be better or that much different than what I've tried, or it's just a little different. So again, I would prefer that you guys don't have to spend any extra money chasing something if I'm able to help you avoid a situation like that. But anyway, this was a new pot that I was able to bring home over the weekend. So this is one of my stoneware throne vases. So these are all made on a wheel while it's spinning. And trim out a foot when it's done, trim down some of the excess clay after this gets made, refine the rim a little bit. So basically the finish on this is a dipped white glaze first, and then where you guys see this white design, there was a liquid wax that we apply by brush to make the two horizontal bands, and then dip your brush and just kind of make this little stroke. Then after that, a black glaze that you guys see there is dipped over, and so this is a combination of both the white glaze and the black glaze. I'm still feeling this menthol, you guys. So yeah, this is called wax resist. So white glaze first, get this design put on the outside, and then dipped in black over. So I'll have some more pots coming in possibly next week, I think quite a bit. The other ones that I brought home, most of them were not keepers. I don't even want to show them. They're just kind of part of the process. You have a lot of failure in ceramics that you kind of just have to deal with. All right, last thing. So Rome. This one is tobacco, thyme, grass, damp earth, and wood smoke. I've loved this scent. In my opinion, it's kind of in the same vein as the Tombstone. This is, oh man, this one, you know what's weird? I don't think this has ever popped in my head. So growing up as a kid, does anyone remember the cereal waffle crisp? It's going to look like a little waffle. It's got almost like maybe a maple flavor. There's maybe a slight sweet kind of facet on this, and that's exactly what it reminded me just spraying that right now for the first time. It's got like a almost sweet cereal scent. I don't know, I'll have to use this a little bit more, but Rome was one of those scents that was controversial for Will to release at first, and so this was one that he kind of brings back every once in a while, and I love this scent. This is one of my favorite scents. It's just not one that I tend to wear very often because I'm always in warm climate. So this shave was dedicated to just kind of putting some different stuff that you guys probably haven't seen me use as much on camera. Now, once again, using that Kai, I did get a couple nicks, but looking at this, you guys, R41, great shaver. As much as you guys have, again, seen me use these expensive razors, the haircut and shave, the carbon, what are some of the BBS one, as much as I might tell you guys those are great razors, it doesn't mean that this podcast razor from Mila however many years ago, this is still an excellent shaver for me. It's one that I really like. I think that I don't know. You just got to find what works well for you. This doesn't work quite the same as some of those razors that I mentioned, but this is a razor that I've had so many shaves on, and so I wanted to just throw it in there that even though this isn't like what I'm enjoying the most using right now, I can still hop on and give you guys, a fairly decent shave because I'm very familiar with this razor. So again, don't ever take my channel and what I choose for the hardware as ever being I only want to shave and show you guys what is most expensive or most popular right now. So use what works. And this this aftershave is really it's clearing me up. So you guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. Here we go, 35 minutes, 36 minutes. I'm gonna try to get these shortened up, but you guys stay well, and I'll catch you guys soon for another shave. All right, take care.